listening to The Goods on the Chronicles, Fables, and Yarns Network. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Tracy.
All right, so I know we said that our last movie was going to be our Christmas release, but it is the holiday season, and we figured, why not throw another one in? Because it's the holidays. Why not, right? Who doesn't love holiday movies? Who doesn't love Christmas movies? Well, that, and I asked Tracy, and I was like, hey, so I think we doubled up on a movie. Do you want to pick one? And she was like, yeah, I totally want to pick one. I was like, all right, cool. And this was Tracy's pick, and Tracy's pick is Scrooged.
Scrooged.
It was released, I think, like 88? It's
Yes.
Has Bill Murray in it and Karen Allen. In case you don't know who Karen Allen is, think Indiana Jones. Directed by
Lois Lane, Superman.
Was she? Really? Man,
The original one.
I need to rewatch those. I believe it was directed by Richard Danner. And music, I believe, was by Danny Elfman.
Yes.
Which, anytime Danny Elfman does a soundtrack, it's always good. I've never heard him do a bad soundtrack, so it is what it is. So Tracy, this is your pick, so if you'd like to kick us off, that'd be great.
Sure. So I will admit that I haven't watched this, or I hadn't watched it, probably in quite some time. But I was talking to someone and they brought it up to me, and I was like, wow, I really liked that movie back when it came out in like 1988, or when I watched it again, probably sometime in the 90s. And so I watched it again because I remembered that I had really enjoyed it. And it's pretty much a Christmas Carol within a Christmas Carol, because Bill Murray's character, Frank Cross, is a TV executive. And, he's like the youngest vice president or president or whatever he was in the history of TV executives. And so he's trying to get viewership on Christmas Eve. So they're doing a live broadcast in several different countries of A Christmas Carol. And right before he's supposed to do that, he gets visited by his old boss, who's played by John Forsythe, who's dead, and is telling him that he's going to be visited by 3 ghosts. So, of course, chaos ensues. I mean, it's Bill Murray, so it's bound to be funny, which it is. And they have basically every time he gets visited by one of the Christmases, I'll call them, he hallucinates. And so he's usually in with his boss or the guy who's trying to take over his position. And he goes crazy in the middle of restaurants. He thinks he sees waiters on fire, all sorts of insanity. But the Christmases themselves are also really great. Christmas Past is David Johansen, who I only actually knew him as Buster Poindexter, because apparently I knew nothing about punk. But he had done an album in the 80s as Buster Poindexter. And Christmas Present is Carol Kane, and then they had a Christmas Future who was a scary skeleton guy.
Robert Hammond, uncredited. I had to look it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
Robert Hammond?
I have no idea.
Is he somebody?
No idea.
Okay.
I didn't know,
But
which is why I had to look it up. when I was doing my notes for this, I was just like, who the hell is this?
Yeah, I was like, does it matter? Is he important? And then when you said he was somebody, I was like, geez, maybe he is.
No, absolutely. I can't find. I literally didn't find any other references to him anywhere. There's like no links, nothing. I was like, all right.
They were just like, hey, would you put this costume on?
Yeah. Hey man, put this on. Looks scary. All right.
So it's kind of your basic love story / Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Allen's character, Claire Phillips, was the one he let get away. And so basically they, when his former boss, who's dead, visits him, the phone is automatically dialed to Claire Phillips. And so he talks to her and he says he has to talk to her right away, and he's all freaked out and everything. And so then they end up getting together and having some back and forth over the meaning of their lives and whatnot. And of course it has your basic happy ending. He's got his realizations after he gets the crap kicked out of him by the Christmases.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually surprisingly. Oh, and he almost gets shot by Bobcat Goldthwait too, who he fires on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
The transformation, the his speech and stuff at the end, it's actually really moving. It's nice. It's a really nice ending, and they all sing "Put a Little Love in Your Heart," and the what's her name? Alfre Woodard's character, Grace Cooley, who's his long-suffering assistant.
Yep.
Her son doesn't speak because he had witnessed his father getting murdered, and he's so moved by the whole experience that he speaks. So it's a really nice. It's a really funny and off color.
Well, the best bit about that is he's in my mind. I have in my notes that he's the Tiny Tim, because he's the guy who goes. He reminds us, saying, God bless us everyone at the end of it. So I have him listed as Tiny Tim, even though that's not his name. I think his name's like Calvin or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. But it's just it's a classic kind of 80s sort of movie.
I can agree with that. It's a very 80s movie. It's a very 80s Christmas movie. You hit the nail on the head, I think. It's basically a retelling of A Christmas Carol. And it's a Christmas Carol within A Christmas Carol. I mean, my favorite version of A Christmas Carol is still the Muppets Christmas Carol, but that's beside the point. But I mean, A Christmas Carol is like the Christmas story, right? Like when it comes down to it, like Dickens's A Christmas Carol is the Christmas story. Scrooge gets referenced everywhere. Somebody's stingy with their money, they're called a Scrooge. Scrooge McDuck, Scrooge this, Scrooge that. And the Christmas Carol's been redone like a bazillion times. But this one I think stands out because it is a Bill Murray Christmas movie. And it kind of, it's one of the only ones that really kind of put a spin on it, I think, because a lot of the retellings of A Christmas Carol are like very literal, and this one is sort of tweaked.
Yeah.
in more ways than one. And
Christmas present.
Exactly. So which is really, really hilarious. She's just there beating the shit out of Frank, and like, okay.
She is wonderful.
She's really funny. And you get the kind of like, very obviously, I think my favorite bit about it is you get is the twist on who would be Bob Cratchit, right? Who in this case would be I just had it. His assistant, Woodard's character. What's the name? Can't think of it.
Grace Cooley.
Yeah, Grace Cooley. There we go. And so you kind of get the you get that, and you sort of get the because that is her son, right? Claire Renine. Let's see.
Yeah, that's her son.
That's her son. Yeah. So that itself, she kind of plays the Bob Cratchit character in it. So you kind of get these, like, you have the references to the classic characters. They're just not maybe where you would expect them to be. They're a little inverted or a little weird, and they put a love story in there, and it's nice. I think it's a great retelling. I think it's very, very Christmas. It's a very, very 80s Christmas movie. It's that classic, redemption story. It's obviously a Christmas movie. We didn't have that argument about White Christmas because it's called White Christmas. We're not gonna have it about this one either because it was literally a Christmas Carol.
Scrooged, yeah, you can't really argue it.
No, you can't. It's very clear when you see a movie titled Scrooge that's going to be centered around Christmas and Christmas time. But it's the classic Scrooge redemption tale with a little twist on it, and I enjoyed the twist. I laughed a lot. I don't think I'd seen this movie for since I was in college. I think it's 15 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, and it's been a long time for me too.
So I think it's a fun movie. I think it was a great pick. I was
really glad to have watched it again, honestly.
Yeah, I actually forgot about it. So you're like I hadn't thought about this movie in years. So you're like, I'm gonna pick Scrooge, and I'm like, that's a good pick. Huh?
Exactly. I did the same thing when it came up in conversation. I was like, huh,
Yeah.
a while.
Huh. And you're right, you know, closes on Put a Little Love in Your Heart, and a nice little musical number at the end to clear things off. And
Yeah.
overall, I think it's a great film. It's your movie. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about it?
Just definitely a solid Christmas movie, and it's very fun. I would say that it is not appropriate necessarily for all audiences.
It most certainly is not. Yeah. Fair.
But it is definitely worth watching.
I think it's very much worth watching as well. I think it's a great Christmas movie, and something you can easily put on and just, you know, laugh a little bit, have some good times.
Yep.
Great little movie. This has been The Goods on the Chronicles, Fables, and Yarns Network. Again, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Tracy. Thanks for listening.